Hi, this is Jason from Effective Dashboards, helping maintenance and reliability professionals get the most out of Power BI. So welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the filter pane, and that's the pane that's available on the right-hand side of the report. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm in Power BI Desktop here, and we can see that this filters pane is available. Now, let's just talk through some of the kind of just a high level structure of the actual pane itself. So at the top, we've got a couple of options. The first one is you can actually decide whether you want to show this pane at all or hide it in the Power BI service. So that's the first thing we can do. So if I hide that, and then the second one there that I'm going to show you here is whether it's collapsed or expanded. So you can do this in Power BI Desktop. Now, the state that you save it in, either the expanded or collapsed state, will be the state that is defaulted when you publish it up to the Power BI service. So let's look at this one here where I have, first of all, hidden it, and then we'll look at an option where I've actually not hidden it, but I've collapsed it. Okay, so we're in Power BI Desktop here, and we can see that this has been published and it's collapsed. Okay, now if I expand it, of course you can expand it if you need to and start applying the filters. But if I ever reset to the default by pressing this button here, click OK there, then the default state is going to be for this to be collapsed. And that would be the advice I would give you, is to always publish your Power BI reports with this collapsed. It just makes it less cluttered. If somebody wants to go and apply a filter, then they can certainly open it up and then they can save it, close it back down again. Now the other report I've published is one where the actual filter panel is completely hidden. Okay, so it's not even available to collapse or expand. And if you're using something that's on a, maybe on a big screen somewhere, and you don't want to take up, that couple of centimeters of real estate, even if it is collapsed, then that would be a great example there. Or if you have got some on-screen or in-report filters through slicers, then yeah, that would be an option there just to save on the real estate. Okay, so we're back in Power BI Desktop. The next thing I want to talk about in terms of this filter panel is the different sections. So we can see here that we've got two sections. We've got filters on this page, and that means that any filters that I apply here, so let's go in and apply the work type filter, and any filters applied here will be applied to this page and this page only. Okay, so if I go to the work order details page, then this filter that I've just applied won't be applied to that page there. It's just the page, as it says in the description, really fairly straightforward. It's just applied to this particular page here. Okay, now the next section is filters on all pages. So if I add in, let's give it a work type here. If I add in work type here as being breakdown, then it's going to filter this page, but it's also going to be applied to every page. Okay, so we can see we've got the 74 work orders here, and we've got the 74 work orders there. Okay, so just depending on what the filter is and what your requirements are, you can apply it to every page, and you can apply it to just one particular page. So let's get rid of that for just now, and we'll look at the third option. Now the third option only becomes available when you click on a visualization, and that is to apply a visualization or apply a filter to a particular visualization. Now we can see, depending on what you want to display in the visualization, you may want to or you may not want to enable these filter options here. So let's go and look at this and explore it in a bit more detail. So if I go into this backlog filter here, what I'm going to do first of all is these are all hidden. As a default, these filters will be available. Okay, so any fields that you add in here will be added as filters. So we've got backlog hours, we've got department, we've got discipline, and I've actually added in work type here, but that would not be available unless I added it in. So the filters that are shown in this filter panel here are the fields and measures that are displayed in the visual itself, and you can't remove those. Okay, you can see there's no cross beside it. If I add in a work type, we can see I can remove that because there's a cross there. Okay, so as a default, anything used in the visual will be added as a filter. Now, when we publish this up to the Power BI service, let me just go, I'll go and do that, and we'll flick across to it. Okay, so I've published this to the Power BI service. Now, what we can see here is if I click on this particular visual, we can see that these visual filters on visual has been displayed. Okay, so it's only displayed if you click on a particular visual. So there's a couple of cautions that I'd like to talk you through, and a few options here for configuring these. First of all, if I go in here on discipline and I filter by, just say, construction, then this is only going to filter this particular visualization. Okay, so because this is at the top of the page, somebody could be confused into thinking that they are filtering the department for the whole visualization. Okay, they come in here and they can see, oh, I want to filter by department. I'm going to choose maintenance, and here's the values here. But we can see this 14,000 hours here doesn't tie up with the hours here for total backlog. Okay, and it's only filtered, this visual level filter section is only filtered this particular visual. So we do need to be careful about how we actually provide access to these. Now, what you can do is you can actually hide these, and I'll just show you how you do that. It's fairly straightforward. However, while I'm here, I'm also going to click on this one here. Now, this one here, if I just click off of there, is called Safety, Environment, Production and Routine. Now, it's fairly obvious that there is an inferred filter here, that this is safety critical work, this is environmental critical work, etc. So when you click on here and you see this filter here, then it's not a surprise. Okay, it's not a surprise. However, there is an option that someone could go in and change that. Okay, so we want to address that as well. So let's go back to Power BI Desktop and we'll address those couple of features, or couple of considerations. Okay, so I'm back in Power BI Desktop. So let's first of all tackle the first one, which is filters at a visual level that really you would want to protect the user of the report, protect against somebody applying these filters at a visual level and then perhaps getting disparities or confused between the figures that are shown at the visual and the figures that are shown in other areas of the report. So it's really straightforward. The first thing you can do here is just go and hide these. Okay, so I'm going to go and hide the backlog hours. I'm going to hide the filter for department. I'm going to hide the filter for discipline, because I don't want anybody to directly filter this particular visual. Any filters I want to be applied from either clicking on a cross filter within here. So maybe we want to see safety, but that's going to apply that to all of the visualizations, or maybe priority 1, which again is going to apply to all of the visualizations. Okay, so we're going to hide these, and let's publish this up. Well, first of all, that's the first one. Now the second one is these here. Now I don't necessarily want to hide this. I quite like to see, or allow people to see, if there's any filters applied that are relevant to a particular figure. It just helps with understanding the values that are shown. And also, if you hover above here, you can see that it shows you that the filter has been applied. Okay, we can see it there. Now that will also be the case if we apply, for example, mechanical. We can see it's cumulative, so you can see included in this filter on this particular card is mechanical discipline and work criticality. Okay, so I want to keep that functionality because it's really useful. So let's go and look at the two options we've got to deal with this situation. So the first thing we can do is we can go and let's just uncheck that. Yeah, click back on here. We can go and we can hide this filter. Okay, we could hide this filter. Now once you hide it, whenever you hover above this filter icon, it's not going to tell you that it's filtered by work criticality equals 1. Now that might be okay. However, as I said, I quite like to see that available. Now the second option, so we'll just unhide that, is to actually lock this filter here. Okay, so see this little lock filter icon, this padlock icon, and that is going to display this filter so you can see that it's applied, but it's going to lock it down so you can't change it. Okay, so made a couple of changes here. Let's go and publish this to the Power BI service and we can see them in action. Okay, so I've published it up to the Power BI service here. If I click on this visualization here, we can see that it's locked. Okay, we can see it's available. If you hover above the filter icon, we can see that it's been applied, but we can't change it, okay, because it's locked. So that's one option. Now the other option obviously is it's not locked, so we can go and see it, but also change it and delete it, which we don't want. Okay, now the other one we talked about here was removing the option to apply filters altogether at a visual level. So I've clicked on here and we can see there's just no options here to apply the visual level filters. Okay, these options are available here, but I've hidden them for this particular visualization, and I would recommend that you hide it for all of the visualizations where you don't want to see the filters, because it just gets a little bit confusing, particularly if you've got instances where, for example, we've maybe got this work order details which has got lots of filters here. Okay, all of these are available and just becomes quite difficult to, it just looks a little bit cluttered, I would say, in this filter panel. So I always like to go and hide these so that when somebody clicks on one of these filters, or one of these visualizations, they don't see any visual level filters. Okay, so that's a little bit of upfront filtering or configuration of filters, so you reduce the confusion, reduce the options, keep it nice and neat and simple and uncluttered. Okay, so next we're going to look at some of the report level configuration options related to this filter pane here. So to do that, we'll go into File, then we'll go to Options and Settings, and then we'll go to Options. And we're just going to scroll to the bottom here to Report Settings under the Current File section. Okay, now there's a few things in here that I just want to talk through. So the first one at the very top is persistent filters. Don't allow end user to save filters on this file in Power BI service. So as a default it's off, and I would recommend you leave it off. So what that does is it allows somebody to select a filter, and then the next time they go back into that app, that filter will be persistent. It'll stay active for that particular individual. So let's look at an example of this. Okay, so I'm in here on the Power BI service. Here's our file here, and I'm a maintenance department manager, and I want to go and look at only, or filter only, the work department for maintenance. Okay, so all of these figures now are going to be pre-filtered for maintenance, and if I go in and hover above here, we can see the work department for all of these has been filtered for maintenance. So that's fine. So then I'm going to go back, and if I come back to this at a later date, so I'm going to go back into this app here, we can see that this is persisted. Okay, this filter is persisted, and it means that we don't need to go and allocate that filter every time we go into this app. Okay, so I'm going to take that off. So that's that option there. Okay, so the next option relates to this this filter type here. Okay, so there's two options in this particular example here, and depending on the value and the category or the measure that's added, there'll be different options under this filter type. For example, a date has got a lot more different options, but basically what this option or this configuration option is going to do is switch on or off, or toggle on and off, the ability for the end user of the published report to select a filter type. So there's an option to select it at advanced or basic. So basic is probably the best option here, because we've just got a list of values here. Okay, there's no point in putting advanced. If we did have a date in here, then advanced would let you look at a date range, or would let you choose the last 2 years, or the last 2 weeks, or whatever. So there's an option to allow the user to select that filter type. Now let's go and look at where that's set. So we go back to our options and settings. And here it is here. Okay, under filter experience, allow users to change filter type. So I'm going to leave that on for just now, and I'm going to show you how this looks when we publish it to the Power BI service, having selected both options. Okay, so within the Power BI service, and here we have our work type filter, and we can see we can switch between the advanced filter, which gives you a lot of real, almost like conditional options here, or we can select the basic filter, and then you get the list of department values here. Now this other one has been published with that checkbox ticked, which means that users can't select the filter type. And we can see here when you open this up, there's just a selection here because I saved it with the basic filter type selected when I saved my desktop file, my Power BI desktop file, and published it up to the Power BI service. So that is probably more relevant in this example here, where we've just got a small list of options here. But if you've got a date, or you've got something that's got a large list that you might want to pre-filter, then maybe the conditional option would be the best one, or at least allowing somebody to select between the two. Okay, so that's the second configuration option at a report level. Okay, so I'm back in here, and the next option is to enable search in the filter pane. So let's put that on, and we can see that we've now got a search panel at the top here. Now what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to search within our list of filters. Now we don't have a huge list of filters, but if you did have a huge list of filters in there and you wanted to search by work type, you can see that you can go and select the work type there. Okay, now it doesn't show you where that work type is sitting, which is a bit unfortunate. It would have been nice to be able to see it if it was at a page level or if it was at an all pages level, but it allows you to activate this search bar here if you've got an extensive list of filters. So as a default, again, trying to keep it as simple as possible, get rid of clutter, get rid of anything that is not necessary for actually working the report. I tend to have it hidden because the number of filters I've got typically are reasonably small, but if you need to be able to search by that, then that's an option that's available. Okay, so the next option relates to basic filtering. Okay, so whenever I select a basic filter, what happens is it applies it straight away. Okay, so if I choose to look at perhaps just BR and CM, the filters are applied straight away. Now that's normally fine, but if you've got a report where it's got a lot of data and applying the filters might take a few seconds, you might not want to apply these straight away for these basic filters. So let's go and look at the option there. So underneath the query reduction section, there is a filter section here. So as a default, instantly apply basic filter changes. Okay, so anything from the basic filters, basic filter type are instantly applied like we just demonstrated there. However, there's a couple of other toggles here that you can choose. The first one is to add an apply button to all basic filtering and apply the changes only once you press that button. So let's see that in action. So now if we select on these two, nothing's happened until we press this apply button and then the filters are applied. Okay, so that's the first option. Now the other option that's available is to add a single button to the whole filter pane to apply all of the filters in the pane once they've all been selected. So let's go and add that in, and we can see that there's an apply button being added at the bottom here. So if I go in and look at those, and I also wanted to look at work department was only going to be maintenance, we can see that nothing's happened here. This button has been turned into a different color, a yellow color, just to indicate that we haven't applied those filters yet. And as soon as you apply these filters, it changes back to grey and all of the filters have been applied from each of the two selections that we've made, and it could be more. Okay, so those are a couple of different toggle options you've got, particularly if you've got a big data set, and when you do apply a filter it may take a few seconds and you want to sort of get your filter selected and then apply it as a winner. Okay, so those are some of the options we've got under the configuration section for at a report level. Okay, so let's move on to the next section and we'll be talking about the look and feel of the filter pane. So the first thing is the order that the actual cards appear. So it may well be that you want to change this order here, so you can just drag and drop these, and whatever order is makes logical sense. So work type probably is at the top there, then department, then discipline. So there's a kind of hierarchy between department and discipline almost. So just make sure that these are in a logical order. You can also sort them alphabetically under this mode options, but I would say that it's better, unless you've got lots and lots of these, it's better just to choose a sequence and stick to that and make sure that it's something that people will get comfortable with. Okay, so next we're going to look at the look and feel in terms of the colour of this filter here. So across the format option, if you click on the filter, you've got all the options related to the pages, but at the bottom here you've got options related to the filter pane, and you've got options related to the filter cards, which are each of these individual cards here with a category or a measure on them. So let's look at the filter pane first of all. So lots and lots of options here. You can change the background color, the transparency, the color of the icons here, the actual size of the font, which is at 10 at the moment. So if we wanted to take it, make it a little bit smaller, and that's for the title up at the top here. The header text. So there's lots of options here, lots of configuration options. I'm not going to go into them in too much detail, but what I will say is that there's a few things that I like to kind of play about with. The first one is the width. So I like to make it a little bit smaller. Now there is a limit to this. I think it's 180. Yeah, it doesn't go any lower than 180, but I think for us 180 is fine. The work department is kind of obscured here, but maybe make it a little bit bigger there, and you can make it, but yeah, there we go. So just make sure that nothing is actually truncated here. So work department there. The next thing that I would look at here is the color. What is it? The background color. So I think that's a bit further up. Yeah, background color. So at the moment it's white. Now, what you can do is in the Power BI service, when you actually publish this report to an app, then that app will have a color. And I always think that it makes a little bit of sense to try and keep the background of this visual, or the color of the visual for the filters, consistent with the actual color of the app. So let me just show you what I mean. So I'm going to publish this up. Okay, so within the Power BI app here, we can see that we've got our filter panel off to the side here, to the right hand side, and we can expand that, and it's got the color that it's defaulted to, which is this white color here, white background with the black text. Now the color for the app, which determines this color along the background here, which is grey, and along the top here is different to this color here. Okay, so let's go and figure out what this color is here, and I'm going to change the background to match the color scheme that's used in the app. So to do that, we need to go in and edit the app by clicking this pencil at the top here, and then we're going to press this update app here, and then in here we've got this app theme color option here. Okay, so that's the app theme color here. We've got a lot of predefined colors. You can't choose an exact color that you can when you're setting up the other format attributes. It's predefined colors here, so we're going to select that light grey there. Now we need to get a hold of this color here. Now to get a hold of that color, I've got a little add-in here, a little eyedropper add-in here for Chrome, and it allows you to go and enable a color picker. I'll put a link to it below. So go to color picker, or eyedrop, sorry, and then it lets you go and pick up this color here, and then in here we can see that that is the color that we need. Okay, so we're going to go and take this color here, and I'm going to go back to the Power BI desktop, and I'm going to add that in as a background to the filter panel. Okay, so we're back here in Power BI desktop, and we're going to start making some changes to the look and feel of this particular pane here. So first of all, we're going to go into the background color, and I'm going to go and I'm going to paste in the value that we've selected for the value that was captured for the app color. Okay, so that's the value there, and we can see that these are now quite a high contrast between the color that the background color and this color for each of these cards. So let's go and update the color for the cards. So we go to filter cards option, and then under available I'm going to also apply the same color. Okay, now there's two options here. There's the type available and there's a type applied. Okay, so the applied type will be used if we actually go and select a value in the filter. Okay, so we can see that that applied type just now is actually the same, but you can change it to be a slightly darker color. Oh, that's available. No, not available. I want it to be applied. Just to subtly differentiate between something that's available and something that's actually got a filter. So you can, as you're scanning down, if there's plenty of filters, you can kind of see there's a slight difference there, and that draws your eye to the fact that this has been filtered. Okay, so one thing I will mention as well is that if you go in here, each filter can be applied with different colors. Okay, so if you want to apply it at a report level, what you need to do is go and update the actual default values in the theme. So I want it to be consistent across each one of these. I don't want to have to go in and apply it to each one of them. So let's just go into our theme, and I'll show you how you do that. So we go to View and we go into Customize Current Theme, and we're going to go to the filter panel here, and we're going to change the background for the filter pane. I keep calling it a panel, but it's a pane, filter pane. And we're going to go and apply that. And then for cards, if the card is available, we're going to make it the same again and apply that. And let's see how it's working out. So it's on here, it's on here, yeah, so it's applied to each one of them, so that's great. Okay, now what we do need to do though is, I noticed this one here, if it's been selected, we never went in and did it if it was selected, so let's go back into the Customize Theme, go to Filter, go to Applied, and make sure that this background is the slightly darker colour. Okay, I'm back in here. It doesn't allow you to select from the theme, obviously, because you're defining the theme, so we need to actually be very specific about this colour here. So that is a colour that I'm going to use, and I'm going to apply that. So now each of the themes, or each of the filters and the cards should all be updated. Perfect. So we can see the ones. It's really easy to spot the ones that have got a filter applied to them because they're just that subtly different colour, they're grey there. So let's publish up to the Power BI service and we'll take a look at how it looks once it's integrated with the app. Okay, so we're back in the app here. I've published it and we can see that there's some continuity now between the colour of the app here along the navigation, along the top, and then along the side here. So it just gives it a nice frame with a consistent colour. And then of course if you want to go and open this up, and you can see that you've got the options here, and if you do select one of these, we want to just look at maybe maintenance for example, we can see that that changes, and yeah, it's been selected for each one of these. Okay, so hopefully you've got a bit more of an understanding about the filter pane and the cards within the pane and how you can configure these and some of the different options you've got, and you can apply that in your own reports. So thanks again for listening. If you found this useful, then it's always appreciated if you could give it a like and a thumbs up. And if you want to keep up to date with the latest videos, I tend to release one every week, then hit the subscribe button and you'll get a notification whenever I release a new video. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you in the next video.